The American Revolution was not just a war. It was the birth of a nation and the laying of the foundations of modern democracy. This revolution marks a turning point in world history, with its effects reaching far beyond its time. The roots of the revolution are deeply embedded in the desire of the American colonies to determine their own destiny and in their brave struggle for freedom. In the early 17th century, the English began establishing colonies in North America. These colonies were filled with European immigrants hoping to build new lives. Supported by the English government, these colonies initially faced significant challenges, including harsh climates, conflicts with indigenous peoples, and economic hardships. However, over time, these colonies grew stronger through agriculture, trade, and industry. By the mid-18th century, 13 English colonies had been established along the eastern coast of America. Although these colonies were under British influence, they enjoyed significant autonomy in local governance. The British Empire quickly recognized the economic potential of its American colonies. The colonies provided raw materials to support Britain's Industrial Revolution and also served as a large market for British manufactured goods. However, the French and Indian War, fought from 1754 to 1763, left Britain with significant financial problems. To overcome these economic difficulties, Britain decided to impose various taxes on the American colonies. This decision sparked widespread discontent in the colonies. The Stamp Act of 1765, passed by the British Parliament, sparked significant unrest among the American colonies. The act required that all printed documents in the colonies bear a tax stamp. The act not only imposed an economic burden, but also raised questions about the colonies' autonomy and governance. The colonies argued that taxation without their consent was unjust. This sentiment was encapsulated in the slogan "No taxation without representation," leading to widespread protests. Other taxes imposed by Britain, such as the Townshend Acts, met with similar resistance. These taxes on imported goods led to boycotts and protests throughout the colonies. During this period, the organization and resistance movements within the colonies grew stronger. The Boston Tea Party of 1773, in which colonists boarded British tea ships and dumped their cargo into Boston Harbor, became a symbol of resistance against British rule. The colonial resistance led Britain to take more severe measures. In 1774, the British Parliament passed a series of laws aimed at reasserting control over the colonies. Known as the Coercive Acts, these laws included punitive measures such as the closure of Boston Harbor. The colonies refused to accept these laws, further uniting against British rule. In 1775, armed clashes in Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts, marked the official beginning of the American Revolution. In these battles, British soldiers faced off against local militias, spreading the revolutionary spirit across the colonies. After these clashes, representatives from the colonies gathered at the Second Continental Congress, appointing George Washington as the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. War was now inevitable. On July 4, 1776, the Declaration of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson and shaped with contributions from John Adams and Benjamin Franklin, became the symbol of the American Revolution. The Declaration proclaimed that the colonies were severing ties with Great Britain and would henceforth be free, independent states. It emphasized that all men are created equal and that governments must derive their power from the consent of the governed. These words became the cornerstone of revolutionary ideals and laid the groundwork for modern democracy. The Declaration of Independence resonated globally. The colonies were fighting not only for their own freedom, but also for universal values such as liberty, equality, and individual rights. These values underpinned the American Revolution and inspired many subsequent struggles for freedom worldwide. The American Revolution was not only a struggle for ideals, but also an exceptionally challenging military conflict. George Washington's Continental Army faced the formidable and experienced British military. Washington had to contend with both loyalists within the colonies and the powerful British forces. Additionally, the American colonies had extremely limited financial and military resources. The early years of the war were tough for the American forces. The British capture of New York and the heavy losses at the Battle of Long Island dampened the morale of the Continental Army. However, Washington regrouped his forces and achieved crucial victories at Trenton and Princeton, changing the course of the war and bolstering American resolve. The victory at the Battle of Saratoga in 1777 was a turning point in the American Revolution. This victory led to France providing military and financial support to America. French involvement forced the British to reevaluate their strategy and fight on multiple fronts. Spain and the Netherlands also provided support to America, turning the conflict into a global war. In the final stage of the war, American and French forces besieged British General Cornwallis's army at Yorktown, Virginia. This siege, which took place in 1781, was the last major battle of the American Revolution. Realizing that his position was untenable, Cornwallis surrendered. This surrender ended Britain's ability to continue the war in America, leading the British government to begin peace negotiations. The Treaty of Paris, signed in 1783, officially recognized the independence of the United States. This treaty ended British rule in America and heralded the birth of a new nation. The colonies had secured their right to self-determination as free and independent states. The American Revolution left a profound legacy on world history. This revolution laid the foundations of modern democracy and championed values such as individual liberty, equality, and popular sovereignty. The revolution inspired freedom movements not only in America but also around the world. The French Revolution, Latin American independence movements, and numerous national liberation struggles drew inspiration from the ideals of the American Revolution. After the Revolution, America began to be governed by a new constitution. The Constitutional Convention held in Philadelphia in 1787 drafted the oldest written constitution still in use today. This constitution established a federal government structure and safeguarded individual rights. The American Constitution continues to inspire constitutional developments in many countries. The effects of the American Revolution were felt not only in the political sphere, but also in social and cultural domains. Movements for women's rights, anti-slavery efforts, and human rights advocacy gained strength by drawing from revolutionary ideals. The American Revolution reinforced the idea that individual rights and freedoms must be protected, becoming one of the most significant milestones in human history. The American Revolution is remembered not just as a struggle for national independence, but as a triumph of the ideals of liberty, equality, and democracy. This revolution ignited a global movement for freedom and made significant contributions to shaping the modern world. The courageous struggle of the American people continues to inspire not only those of their time, but also future generations. The story of the American Revolution reminds us that freedom comes before all else, and that resistance against oppression is a reflection of human dignity.